So we're definitely not a journalist or a reporter, and we definitely don't want to be ever, ever. But sometimes people just tell us things because we have a very trusting face. I mean, look at this face, right? So sources, sources close to the blah, 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 blah. So sources tell us that the Minnesota Fighting Vikings, Anthony Harris, are still in discussions on a long-term deal. Nothing is imminent at this time. So now you may be saying, like, this is the most milquetoast breaking news ever. Well, it's not breaking news, definitely not a journalist, but it's what we're hearing. And now I can already hear the, well, Captain Ivis, whatever. But, I mean, it could easily be a spot where neither side is talking. They're both resigned to the fact that Anthony Harris is going to play on his one-year franchise tag at $11.441 million since he signed it a couple weeks ago, right? So the fact that they're even at the negotiating table right now, it's big, and it's important for the Vikings as well as Anthony Harris, because it's still 3 days until the July 15th deadline for franchise tag players to work out a long-term deal with their teams. That is a long time, by the way. It's a deadline-driven league. We've always said this, and it always holds true. And I mean, hell, Chris Jones and the Chiefs just got to the negotiating table this weekend. Right, so they could work something out, and that one's going to be even tougher since Chris Jones is looking for $20+ million per year. Chiefs already have to work with the Patrick Mahomes deal. There you go. But I think it is a good sign that both sides are talking. And yes, the whole nothing imminent deal, it could be whatever. I mean, nothing happens until it happens. It's one of those spots. I mean, things, if the groundwork is already laid, these things can come together relatively quickly. And Anthony Harris is represented by Athletes First, like we've mentioned before. That agency represents Eddie Jackson of the Bears, as well as Kevin Byard of the Tennessee Titans, which are the top two safety contracts, averaging 14.6 as well as 14.1 million per year, respectively. So the agency obviously knows the safety market, has obviously hit the pinnacle of safety pay before, and they ain't going to settle for less, especially when Anthony Harris is the best free safety in the league, which tells me that the Vikings are at least within striking distance. Because if the Vikings were still offering $10-11 million per year on, say, like a 2, 3, 4 year deal, I mean, they wouldn't be talking. The sides would be apart, would be like, all right, enjoy the weekend. We're going to make $11.441 million this year, and then we'll see you next offseason. You know, that whole thing, right? So the fact that they're even in discussions right now tells me that we're in the ballpark, right? So again, the fact that they are talking, very good sign. You know, Vikings could extend Harris long term and lower his 2020 cap number from $11.441 million, plus lock up the best free safety in the NFL for the remaining years of his prime. I think that would be very important. Also, just going down the conspiracy rabbit hole, if the Vikings sign Harris to a long-term deal, that takes his franchise tag off the table, which means they could trade for another franchise tag player, a la Joe Thuney, a la Brandon Sheriff. Make it happen. But that's going a little bit too far down the rabbit hole. But Harris's side, I mean, Harris is in a unique position because he is 28 years old, going to be 29 this season, and he basically has one shot to secure the bag, one nice long-term deal, because say he's able to find a 3 or 4 year deal, chances are by the end of that, 33, 34 years of age, probably not going to happen again, right? So this is also uber important this year because of coronavirus, because what happens if there are no games, if there is no season? Again, knock on wood, hopefully that there is, but what happens with Anthony Harris, who has made relatively peanuts on a UDFA contract coming in with the Vikings, as well as played last year on an RFA tender, but it's not a lot. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. The NFLPA has discussed up to a $500,000 stipend per player, but again, that's not a whole lot either. It's not $11.441 million, so securing a long-term deal with a decent upfront signing bonus, that would be prudent. That would make a lot of sense, even if it is settling for $12-13 million per year. You don't hit the top of the safety market, but you're able to have some long-term security as well as that upfront signing bonus. So at least you have that in the bag. I think that would be a smart hedging of the bet. So I think that could be why the Vikings and Harris are still at the negotiating table right now, as opposed to just like, man, whatever, in the next 3 days. You know what I mean? So I hope that something gets done. I hope it, because I'm very pro players getting paid unless it's Kirk Cousins over $28 million. And also, I think it makes sense from the Vikings perspective because lowering Harris's 2020 cap liability could open up some flexibility for the Vikings and just adding a couple more pieces. Go secure that Jerome Barty. So we'll see. But like I said, they're talking. Will lead to something in the next 3 days. as TBD. But there you go. All right, so your thoughts, Anthony Harris, Vikings long-term extension. Let us know in the comment section below. So, subscribe for daily Vikings takes. If you want to support the work, pull us on the Venmo. Plus, give us a follow on social media as well. Until next time, Skull, production value.